Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Today I'm going to be talking about college basketball, but I also have a couple of questions. One is about college basketball, and one is not. And as always, of course, if you have any thoughts on anything I'm going to discuss today, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. I always enjoy reading your feedback. First, let's talk about the college basketball NCAA March Madness tournament. Of course, now that it's Monday, we're down to the Final Four. We'll have two games on Saturday, and then the winners of those two games will face off Monday night for the national championship. And it's funny because we've played the entire tournament, and I'm still not sure who I think is going to win it all. Honestly, you could tell me Duke is going to win it, and I couldn't disagree. You could tell me Villanova's going to win it, and I couldn't disagree. You could tell me North Carolina was going to win it, and I couldn't disagree. You could tell me Kansas was going to win it, and I couldn't disagree. Last year, to me, it was vehemently clear from the outset the best two teams were Baylor and Gonzaga. I've got a good friend of mine that I work with who is a huge Tar Heel fan, and of course, that sucks. But outside of that, he's a pretty good dude, and he's one of those people who always pictures the Blue Bloods playing and winning national championships. So last year, as soon as the tournament field was announced, before one game was played, I said the best two teams are Baylor and Gonzaga. And of course, he didn't want to believe that. Said, oh, they're not going to make it. And both of them played for the national championship. And of course, we know Baylor won. But this year, the whole tournament has been played except for the Final Four, and I'm still not sure who the best team is. So that's why I'm still not sure who's going to win it. So you could pick any of the four teams and pick any of those teams to win it all, and I couldn't disagree with you because there has been no dominant team all year long. All year long, every single team has been very, very inconsistent. And all year long, as I've done my AP weekly top 25 polls, I've talked about how there's not been a dominant team. It was Gonzaga for a while, Baylor for a while, Auburn for a while, but no team was just head and shoulders above the rest the entire year. And that's why I'm still not sure who's going to win it. I think it's going to be the winner of the Villanova Kansas game, but the way this tournament has been and the way this whole year has been, I'm not sure. Honestly, yesterday was the first time in the entire tournament where the games were terrible. Kansas pretty much dominated Miami, and North Carolina walked the dog with St. Peter's. But up until yesterday, pretty much every day has had at least one or two intriguing games, but not yesterday. But even though those two teams looked so great yesterday, they may not look so great this upcoming weekend. So if you have any early thoughts on who you think will win it all, please feel free to let me know. And then I have a question about college basketball, and let me preface the reason why I'm asking the question. It's because we all know that Coach K, according to some people, is the greatest coach ever. And of course, that's mostly just Duke fans. But everybody else at least acknowledges that even though he is a jerk of a human being, he's a good coach. But we all know he's fixing to retire. And since most people think he's either the greatest coach of all time or at least one of the greatest, he's at least the best current coach. But since he's retiring, of course, starting next year, he cannot be the best current coach because he's not coaching. So if somebody asked you right now who is the best coach in college basketball as we head into the 2022 season, what would your answer be? Who do you think it is? Because honestly, if you look at national championships, unless by some chance North Carolina wins it this year, with, of course, Davis being in his first year, there are not a lot of current coaches who have national championships. So obviously, if you think it's a coach that has a national championship, you don't have many options. But if you don't think it's a coach that has a national championship, who do you think it is? Is it somebody like Kelvin Sampson at Houston? Because of the fact, basically, ever since Clyde Drexler and Akeem Olajuwon left, Houston's been complete garbage. But this year, they were a top 10 team. Would it be somebody like him, or would it be, a coach of a blue blood team? We know it's not John Calipari, because Kentucky just falls apart every year in the tournament. I think Mark Few is clearly the worst coach, at least the worst coach of a blue blood college basketball team. And I feel bad for Gonzaga because they have been the number one overall seed 3 times in the last 5 years, and they won absolutely nothing. Now, they've played for 2 national championships, but they have not won one yet. But I feel bad for them because before Mark Few came, nobody had any clue who Gonzaga was or where it was located. But now that they're a perennial powerhouse, most people know who they are. But every time Mark Few plays another great team, his coaching ability or lack thereof is clearly shown. He cannot coach when he plays anybody any good. So you feel bad for Gonzaga because obviously if they had a coach that was any better, they would already have at least one national championship. But since Mark Few can't coach, they don't. But if you get rid of Mark Few and you bring on somebody else, if they can't recruit as good as he does, then you've got a better coach, but you don't have near as good of talent. So if you're Gonzaga, what do? Do you just continue to keep him and hope that eventually the talent overcomes his stupidity? Or do you eventually push him out the door and try to bring in another big-time coach? But most people think the 2 best coaches going right now, outside of Tom Izzo, because I think Tom Izzo is good, but I do think Tom Izzo's past his prime. I think the game has passed him by. Most people think it's either Bill Self at Kansas or Jay Wright at Villanova. Now, if you look at their overall career records, right now Bill Self has 760 career wins, and Jay Wright has 638. But Bill Self started coaching in 93, and Jay Wright started coaching in 94. And I believe Jay Wright will be 61 this year, and I believe Bill Self will be 60 this year. So if Kansas wins the national title this year, both coaches will have 2 national championships. But if Villanova wins it, then Jay Wright will have 3, and Bill Self will just have 1. So obviously, if you're a fan of coaches that win national championships, you would think Jay Wright is the better coach. But if Kansas wins it and they both have 2, which one of those 2 is the better coach? And like I said, if it's somebody else, please feel free to let me know. And my last question is going to all the people I know that like Atlanta sports, whether it's the Braves or the Falcons or the Hawks, anybody else. And the reason why I'm saying the professional teams is because the question I'm going to ask really has to be about a professional team. And that is, right now, in your personal opinion, who is the face of Atlanta sports? And the reason why I ask that question is because if you're a sports follower, you know the Braves just let go of Freddie Freeman, who had been there for a long time, and the Falcons just traded Matt Ryan, who had been there for a long time. Because honestly, in my personal opinion, it should be Joseph Martinez, but since he plays for the Atlanta United, and for whatever reason, soccer's just not been very popular. Most people in America only watch the World Cup, and that's it. So even though Martinez is great, and it should be him, since he plays soccer, it's not going to be him. But if it's not him, who do you think it is? And I think it has to be somebody from one of the professional teams, because we know college players only play in college a couple of years and they're gone. So you really can't be the face of a franchise for 2 years. You have to be there for a long period of time. But there really ain't anybody on any of the main rosters in the major sports that have been there for a long period of time that are great and well known. Because if it's the Braves, I guess you could say Ronald Acuna, but he still has only been there a handful of years. If it's anybody on the Falcons, it has to be Kyle Pitts, who's only been there for 1 year. So can you say it's somebody that's played for 1 year? Can it be Trae Young of the Hawks? Because basketball is just not as popular as baseball and football. So, in your opinion, for the Atlanta franchises, who is the face of the Atlanta franchises right now? Is it Ronald Acuna? Is it Martinez? Is it Trae Young? Is it Pitts? Is it somebody else? I would love to hear your feedback on that. That question came to me when I was thinking about the Braves losing Freeman and the Falcons losing Ryan, and I was like, man, there really ain't a team in Atlanta for any of the major sports that has a player that's great, that's been there for a long period of time. And I'm not going to include Georgia Tech, because not only does Georgia Tech suck at every sport, but like I said, college players play a couple years and they're gone. To me, to be the face of a city, you have to play there for a long period of time, and college athletes just don't play for a long period of time. Well, let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Why are bakers so rich? They make so much dough. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.